And basically, we've had one that's been associated with a very, very quiet time of the sun. And we're actually currently in between a transit. We're nearly at the end of the latest one. There is one researcher who basically says, from his research, that the Mayan elders were aware of the fact that the Venus actually acts as a circuit breaker for the sun. Somehow, Venus has been called the goddess of love because she seems to have some kind of impact of the male energies, solar energies coming from the sun. Okay? And now this seems really, really strange. However, this is one source, the Cryon information that's been channeled through Lee Carroll. And there's a great long channeled message, which I think is a bit waffly. But basically it talks about this because of the implications for Earth. And I feel it's important, if people are picking up this information, to say there is some kind of verification for this. And it is actually quite important, and I'm going to explain the importance. There is at the moment, there is some kind of balancing taking place between the energies from the sun and the energies from the cosmos taking place. Literally, Venus switched off the sun in some ways. We're not getting the massive solar activity that our scientists were expecting. The sun has been abnormally quiet. We've had the deepest solar minimum for at least 100 years, probably for the duration of, well, probably more than that. NASA really didn't know what to do because it was just so unexpected. But the metaphysical sources were just saying it's actually going to happen. There is going to be a rebalancing of energies. The sun is quiet, and it means that energies can stream in from galactic sources. We see, to me, I think the evidence is actually there. Now, I cite this source because I think that there's evidence that it's taken place. Here, there is a guy called, well, in fact, well, it's Anthony Watts, actually, climate blog. He's actually quite infamous in his own world, in this sort of the anti-global warming type brigade. But he's been saying for months and months and months, something switched off in the sun. He said that looks like a step function. And he identifies October 2005, the switch went. And the magnetic index, basically the level of magnetism of the sun, just dropped. And in fact, it hasn't recovered yet. And he literally, he's been saying this on his website time and time again. Something switched off in the sun. If you don't believe me, go to his website and find where he talks about the sun. And I think that's really interesting. That's really interesting. So, I feel that this is one of the sources, by the way, but he does continue to keep talking about this. I feel that it's important for metaphysical people to understand how this plays out in reality. Once we get these messages, it's not all airy-fairy. There's something behind it. There's a point. We are being affected by Earth's magnetic field, but Earth's magnetic field is actually it's a balance of male and female energies. And basically, we're at a time of tremendous change and adjustments are being made that we can actually understand if we know a little bit of science. So here, traditionally, the Earth's magnetic field is described as like a bar magnet, this dipole thing. This is actually incorrect. This is a really simple understanding of the Earth's magnetic field. It's a really simple. And even Wikipedia says, well, if you're a long way away, it does look like this. But actually, it's much more complicated. This is a sort of computer simulation, which I actually hate this. To me, it's meaningless, but the Earth's magnetic field has actually got different components to it. It's not simple. It's not north-south. It's a little bit more complex than that. But one thing that's really interesting is that people, especially now, because things seem to be getting really crazy, the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, and people are starting to say what is going on. When you talk to the scientists, they say the North Pole is... they actually say that the North Pole is actually moving at a tremendous rate into Siberia, whereas the South Pole is already miles away from the actual true south. So there seems to be a discrepancy between the North Pole and the South Pole, but it's not a straight line. There is a balance. I've seen messages that talk about Earth having a broken spine, that somehow there is not a balance between the north and the south, the plus, the minus, the male, the female, the up, the down, the black, the white. It's a polarity thing, okay? And on this planet, it's reflected in the fact that the poles are not equal at all. So one of them, this is only moving at a very slow pace, 5 kilometers per year. This thing is racing at 55 kilometers per year. Literally, the poles are being readjusted for a better level of balance, which will help the energies on the planet. I really believe that this is being done. It's being caused by the fact that the Earth is receiving more feminine energies, and it's causing a realignment of the poles, the North and South poles. This, to me, is evidence of the information that's being given to us. It's physical. It's spiritual energies appearing on the planet, being absorbed by the core of the Earth and causing a realignment. It's happening, and people are like, oh, 55 kilometers an hour. And so people are sort of like, they don't understand it, they don't understand it. However, it's been done for a purpose. The two poles, hopefully, I don't think we've got much more longer to go now for this realignment to take place, because apparently it's the 8 years. But there is a realignment taking place between the feminine energies and the male energies, and we're seeing it in the shift of the poles. Sorry, I've gone too far here. Okay? So here, if you want to see more of this information, I actually have blog posts, but I have lots and lots of entries on my website, so you just have to dig deep to find stuff on my website. But there is definitely something taking place that we can see and we can measure. Okay? So just officially, I just want to point out the fact that our scientists are aware of this. You want to answer the question? Sorry? You can see that, can you? You think this? You want to ask me? It's polarity. It's, as I say, it's positive, minus, up, down, black, white. It's just opposites. It's just people like to talk about male and female. It's just opposites. It's just there is a type of energy that comes from the soul, from the sun, that we say is male. It could be just one. The cosmic energy is coming. We could just call that zero. You know, bits and bytes. I mean, we could talk about ones and zeros instead of male, female, plus. It's just a type. It's just a way of describing the polarity, and that basically we are seeing some kind of realignment that can be physically measured. I believe that I feel that the evidence is, you could say it's all subjective, but I feel that we can look at this and consider maybe something's going on. I know, because I've done enough research, I know that as the Earth is actually being bombarded with energy, energy is literally spiraling at the poles and going deep into the Earth, because NASA has a satellite measuring that. I know that's happening. So I'm just trying to explain to people that it's not just subjective, it's not just some crazy ideas that people are being given. We are being told to help us understand the transition that's taking place, and I'm trying to explain us in a more scientific way what is taking place, and we can rejoice in that. If you're a spiritual person, you can rejoice in the fact that something is happening, and we do have evidence for the something that's happening.
Isn't it the polarity, the balance between north and south? Balance is not good now, but isn't it the real reason that the Earth has to turn around physically?
That's happening too. I don't talk about. There is so much to talk about. I don't even talk about the fact that the tilt is taking place. The Earth is actually realigning.
She's getting another position in the solar system because cosmic powers can reach her in another way.
Yes, it's happening. I mean, there are reports where people in Greenland and Norway are saying, we can't match up the official solstice times with what we're actually seeing. Greenland said the sun appeared from the darkness of the winter nights 2 days early. I mean, this is causing a storm on the blogosphere. People are saying, well, what's going on? The Inuit Indians are saying that the sun is rising in a different place and setting in a different place. And they're saying that the stars are not in the same position. And they're saying, there's a whole documentary on this. I can't, you know, there's so much happening, and there's a lot of resistance to explaining this. NASA trying to blame this on massive earthquakes. They're saying massive earthquakes are actually slightly changing the tilt of the Earth. German scientists, as I said in my essay, said this is complete rubbish. Something else is going on. There is a lot taking place.
Yes. There's been a lot of talk about the influence of HAARP. And you know what HAARP is?
Mm-hmm.
I actually read an article years ago that it said that the Chandra wobble, the way it
Yeah.
was actually increased in the beginning of the millennium due to HAARP activity, that some outside sources readjusted it since.
I'm very sceptical about this business with HAARP. I think HAARP, people are just completely overhyping it. There is no comparison to the huge, massive blasts that our planet is receiving. There is absolutely no comparison. I know it's very popular to talk about HAARP. I don't, because I just think the whole thing is overhyped. That's my opinion. I think HAARP was an experimental system, and I don't think it's done what they were hoping it to do. I see that the massive bombardments, I mean, these coronal mass ejections, it's like 1 billion Hiroshima bombs going off all in one go. It's massive. As I was telling the students, in Halloween 2003, we had 143 solar flares. It is incredibly difficult to find this information